Hey everybody, good evening. Welcome to another edition of the Edgy Live Stream show. We are live here on a Wednesday night in the middle of January. It's definitely winter here in the world headquarters of Edgy Tim here in unincorporated Will County. Okay, not really, I'm lying, but it is in Will County. Everyone knows where I live by now. But glad to have you aboard. We are going to be with you for the next hour or so. We are going to talk. Well, certainly I am IHSA football specific as far as edutim.com, but we'll spread our wings a little bit. We'll certainly talk about some IHSA and IHSA football and the latest ongoings with COVID and trying to return to play. And we will also a little bit later in the hour dive into some NFL, some various news regarding sports here and there. Certainly some baseball hot stove we'll get into. And joining me as always, we are glad to have him back. The one, the only, the veteran, velvet-voiced Dewey Dwyer joining me. And Dewey, first of all, thanks for taking time and welcome aboard.
Ready to roll.
Well, we are waiting for Alan Thorson, who is our guest this evening. Head coach of the Morris Redskins. Got an interesting memo sent over early last week regarding the Redskins and the Interstate 8 Conference. Dewey, they're somewhat combining forces with another conference. So we are hoping to have Alan on and talk about the impact on Morris football. And speaking of the devil, Dewey, as we are sitting here right now, the man joins us, and we are glad to have Alan Thorson joining us. Hi, pal. How are you?
Good. Thanks for having me. Sorry, I was having a little bit of technical problems, but glad to be here.
We love to make you scramble and put in a new browser all of a sudden. So I'm glad you mentioned that. I will have to remember that from now on, that it's a little browser tricky. But, dude, it's great to see you. We haven't seen or talked to you in a while, and that was one of the reasons why we wanted to do this. Is we just kind of miss talking to you guys, and we're trying to keep the football spirit alive and all that good stuff. So welcome.
No, thanks for having me. I do appreciate it. We've as a staff, I mean, it's probably like every coaching staff in the state right now. We're sitting around doing nothing. So we've actually, I saw your interview with Jeff. I saw with Coach Ivelo, and it's fun just listening to people talk about football and hearing other coaches that are obviously in the same boat, kind of how they're handling things and how their staffs and programs are just kind of handling this whole thing. So no, I appreciate the opportunity to come on.
Well, it's always, football is such a big deal, and high school sports is such a big deal in Morris and that community. And well, fill us in from your perspective. I mean, you could probably write a book at this point, I would think, regarding how COVID has gone for you, for your district. But as far as you as a coach, as far as a teacher, I mean, Dewey and I probably can't even fathom, but just how impacted you have been from all of this.
Yeah, I mean, everybody that's been on it, it's kind of nice, like I said, hearing different experiences and how everybody's handled it. I mean, it's obviously been challenging. I got to give the kids a ton of credit because, the kids have just shown how resilient they are, and they can really just handle anything you throw at them. And, for us, when it all started back last spring, it was right around spring break time. So we basically, just kind of gave them a couple weeks off at the time and didn't know how long this whole thing would last. Obviously nobody did. And then as it just kind of progressed and got obviously more serious, we started doing online Zoom, basically workouts with them. So we did that pretty much the whole spring, and then progressed into online classrooms, and our coaching staff just did an awesome job with these guys. And kids would log on. We would do a lot of workouts with them, kept them engaged. Like I said, the classrooms, we were still installing the offense and defense and things like that. And, the spring was challenging, but I for the most part, I was very pleased with how we were able to get through it. Like I said, with those Zoom workouts for about 3 days a week, we would do a couple classrooms a week. And, obviously from a football side, it was good, but it was good just to keep in touch with the kids too, and keep track of them, keep up on their grades and how they were handling everything. When the summer rolled around, it was just such a weird summer. You seemed like you had a little bit of hope. You seemed like some things might get going in a good direction. And then it was like sometimes then you take a step back. So, you know, the summer was obviously difficult. It was challenging. But again, I thought our kids were just tremendous with how they rolled with everything we sent at them. And, you know, for me as a coach, and I'm sure most coaches are like this, very, you know, type A, very organized. If I learned anything, it was patience. And, you know, I probably went through 10 different calendars and schedules for these kids. But, you know, again, they kept handling it well. And then, you know, the fall contact, it was disappointing not to get to play, obviously. But the contact days were still at least enjoyable to be around the kids. We went 2 days a week through September and October, along with lifting. And then, you know, then obviously, you know, we kind of hit the wall and had to shut down again. So it was kind of nice. Today was actually the first day we got back in the weight room with the kids. So just to see their faces and you know, be around the kids today was awesome. So like I said, the whole thing's been a challenge. But, you know, I think we've done the best we could do with our kids. And I'm pretty proud of our staff and definitely really proud of the kids.
Coach, let's talk about the new alignments that are coming. And I took a look at it and I find it interesting because there's some old friends in there, some short trips down I-80, and then there's some that will be a little bit farther.
Yeah, this new conference, it's interesting. We've kind of, seems like every about 3 years we're realigning or switching conferences or something's coming up. But this basically, from kind of my understanding, and a little before Christmas, this was presented to me from Jeff Johnson, our athletic director, and I don't know all the ins and outs of it completely, but basically, my understanding is just some of the smaller schools, I think Plano and Sandwich, and I don't want to misspeak completely on this, but just like I said, my understanding that, you know, they joined the I-8 with us last year, and those guys did a good job. But, you know, I think it was maybe a little step up for some of those guys. And so as a football conference, you know, they started obviously looking at what's best for them. And that's, you know, it's understandable. That's what everybody's going to do. So I know there was some discussion possibly about them moving conferences. And I believe all the ADs got together and, you know, you look outside of football and really it's a pretty competitive conference across the board, top to bottom, from basketball, wrestling, baseball, all the major sports. So football was really, as we all know, it drives everything. And it was really the one that kind of pushed this move. So I think the ADs got together with the Kishwaukee River Conference and kind of came up with this agreement to merge just for football. So, I mean, like you said, there's some familiar faces for us, Sycamore, Canelan, LP, Ottawa, you know, those guys are all going to be on our side. And then we're going to pick up Woodstock and Woodstock North. So definitely going to put some miles on the bus for sure those weeks. And then Rochelle, Plano, and Sandwich from our current conference will go kind of join those guys. So kind of becomes a big small to an extent, really just us and Rochelle. We're going to go with the bigger side and Rochelle will go with the other side. So, and then we'll do one crossover. So it's, you know, it's interesting. It's definitely a lot of travel for sure, but I think it does help the smaller schools for sure.
Hey, Alan, if I'm correct, this also gives you 2 non-conference games. Is that correct?
Correct. So we still have Coal City, and that's definitely a game that's turned into a really great rivalry. I think both.
Yeah, that's got to stay.
Yeah, I mean, from my standpoint, we want to keep that game forever. And I know Dan. I've talked to him, and I think they feel the same way. You know, it's obviously it's a no-brainer with travel, but just 2 great football communities close together. I mean, we've had 2 really good games the past 2 years. One, I didn't like how it went, obviously, but they had a pretty good team too. So you know, you got to give them credit. And then week 2, you know, hindsight, obviously not knowing this conference was coming, we made the great decision to sign Antioch. So we're just really adding some travel to it. Not that, you know, it's going to be a good game. We're excited to play a new team, but I mean, you had the Woodstocks, Antioch, and you know, a potential crossover with somebody like Johnsburg or something. There's, you know, we might need some charter buses, but it's exciting, you know, just to get to play some new teams. You know, I did an interview the other day with our newspaper with Rob Osterly, and he asked me my thoughts, and I ended with the same thing. I'll tell you guys, at this point, with everything that's gone on in life, I really don't care who's in our conference.
Yeah,
I just want to play football.
I know. Well, I'm sure you get out of the bus and go to Iowa every week if you have.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Alan, as far as dealing with your kids, dealing with your seniors, and that's been the foremost thing I think on just about everyone's mind to begin with is what's happening with these seniors. I know from the recruiting side, from the recruiting side what they're up against. How do you keep them invested? How do you keep them involved? And what are you telling these kids at this point?
Yeah, it's tough. I mean, and it's funny you bring that up. I had a conversation with one of our players today that, I mean, just from the recruiting standpoint, it's difficult because our kids are at such a disadvantage. They really are. I mean, they're losing out on a lot of opportunities here. So we did film the majority of our practices during the contact period just to get as much film on these kids as we could. But some of these kids, their bodies change, they mature, they're just different kids. And the kid, actually, the individual I talked to today, kid is a very good player. And I mean, from junior to senior year, has just completely changed his body. I mean, he's a kid that could be a potential scholarship player, and it's tough for him. So you have to have those tough conversations about, maybe you have to start at a lower level and move up, or, it's difficult. But from a team standpoint, like I said, it just has been the most surprising, no, I shouldn't say surprising, but just encouraging thing is really how our seniors have handled this with their leadership and the positivity they've had. They've been working, they fully expect to play. And, again, I heard I can't remember if it was Jeff or John on one of your other interviews said, you can't fool kids. I mean, they know the reality that it could be canceled. They do. And we all do. But at the same time, we preach the same cliches that you can only control what you can control. And right now they are working extremely hard, doing what they can to stay ready. But it's difficult. It really is when you can't get an answer right now. And the lack of communication and just kind of sitting here in limbo is difficult on all of us.
Let's talk about the Durgo book a little bit, the Durgo game. So what kind of impact in the community? What did you take away from it and those kind of things?
Yeah, that was my first year at Morris, and talk about what an awesome year to come into to Morris High School, to come into a 14-0 state championship, nationally ranked team, and not only that, to get to just witness probably one, in my opinion, the best high school player I've ever seen in John Durgo, and probably some close seconds with Jamie Cumbie and some of those other guys. It was just the year itself was amazing, and it's. Even though it's amazing how long it's been, I still find myself, just thinking about the JCA game, and that whole book. I think it was really neat for, especially from the kids' standpoint, to relive it. There was obviously a lot of background that went into it. Haven't had an opportunity to talk to Coach Durgo a whole lot about it, or Coach Peterson. It's just, but I think it's, it was such a special game for both teams, but our community and all the times that we had struggled against JCA and come up so close to beating them, to be a part of that, it was, like I said, it was just a special game.
Yeah, it was so unique, Dewey. And like I said, what ended up being one of the coolest aspects of all of it was when we did the Zoom call with Coach Peterson, Coach Peterson's, and then we had was it Billy McEwen and Joe Benson, and then we had Cumbie and Durgo, and just those guys are still fired up to this day, going back trying to relive that game. And we realized, Dewey, how big football is in the area. We've realized that for years here. And I think you and I talked about this, and Alan, you could probably add to this as well. You look over the last, 20, 30 years, was that maybe like almost the peak of just popularity in this area with high school football, if you think about it, Dewey?
Boy, I'm going to tell you, I agree, but I remember late 80s, probably early 90s when Coach Darlington was there. And that was when we had my favorite Wednesday afternoon playoff game, and Morris came to play Joliet Catholic. It was full on both sides. Yeah. You had to go Wednesday, didn't you? You can't lose. I love it. We all love it. Everyone involved in high school football loved the Wednesday playoff game. And again, show me the medical
work that they did to tell me how risky it is for kids to play those back-to-back games in a week. I still haven't seen the data. Boy, we haven't heard that cry enough. Show me the data.
Yeah, exactly.
But the reason I'll point to that time frame is you had the Lincoln Way behemoth exploded and branched out into multiple schools. And obviously we saw what happened with their success. It was almost immediate when they opened the schools. So, and we talk about this all the time. You start in Morris and you go from Morris to Minooka to JCA to Joliet West to all the schools in the near Joliet area. Keep going down 80, go to Lincoln Way Central, go to Providence, keep working your way east, and you wind up in Lincoln Way East, and that whole stretch, and you can throw in Wilmington and Coal City and Bolingbrook. You go on a Friday night. If every one of those schools had a home game on the same Friday, which I'm sure has never happened, but if it did back then, guys, you probably had packed fields at every single home game.
Yeah, and I can tell you the thing that only stands out to me when people ask about that game. Like I said, it was my first year. I was the head sophomore coach, and obviously helped out on the varsity level. But going the pregame, walking up to the press box, maybe about an hour before the game, and I think I was taking the headsets or maybe something up to the press box, and coming out, shutting the door, and I remember turning around and looking towards our student parking lot in the Union Street that runs in front of the school, and seeing a line of people literally from our stadium lined up all the way to Union Street and then past our tennis courts on the other end of the building. It was just kind of shocking, and you're like, man, this is going to be an awesome game. And then obviously it lived up to the hype. So I mean, it was just like you said, the popularity of high school football in general, but especially that game at that time was amazing, and it couldn't have been a better game.
Any favorite assistant coach stories you have for us? Were you ever, was that pre-huddle?
Yeah. Well, that was pre-huddle for sure. I mean, even just when I was an assistant, it's funny. Like I said, I haven't had just with school and everything going on, I really haven't had a chance to talk to, I had a very, very short conversation with Coach Durgo, just running into each other. But we really haven't had a chance to talk a lot about the book, and I don't get to see Coach Peterson a whole lot. But Coach Durgo actually brought it up. That during the playoffs that year, obviously all the assistants come up and help out as well, and I had actually forgotten about it, that he had made me scout quarterback for that week at JCA. I was right out of college, so I'm 22, 23 years old, wearing a helmet and letting Cumbie and those guys just pound on me. And it's not the offense you want to run scout off, quarterback against, the running a wing offense and quarterback runs. And it was, looking back on it, it was pretty funny. But, I took a beating that week, but I'd like to hopefully think I helped a little get the guys prepared. But it was something I actually, like I said, I forgot about, but it was kind of a funny story.
No stories of being run off halfway across the state for playoff film. None of those stories.
I will just remind me my first year, my first playoff game. I mean, I remember going as an assistant with Coach Durgo, Coach Peterson, Chada, all those guys, and going on scouting trips. That's something that's kind of gone to the wayside now with Huddle, is you don't do as much scouting trips. We still send guys maybe once in a while, but just the whole film exchange is changed completely. But my first playoff experience going against Bishop Mack, and we met in Wilmington at the McDonald's, and being a first-year coach, and I had one of my assistants ride over with me, and I'm just all worked up, excited, but those guys got out of the car and just, laughing, having a good time, and just so relaxed. I just remember, obviously coaches and Annie and those guys, great staff, and I'm thinking, man, this is the playoffs, and I'm getting nervous already, and they're just having a good time hanging out in the McDonald's parking lot, having a cheeseburger or something. I'm like, man, this is, it was an eye-opening experience. But yeah, I can remember all those old days, the exchange films and all that stuff. But yeah, the game has definitely changed for sure.
Mentioned Rich Zanni is a guy that I've been fortunate, especially the last handful of years, I really got to know him, and he's so laid back. It's just. He's just a guy. And it's just,
and I think I've, obviously been around a while now, where that sort of thing wouldn't affect me. But as a first-year coach, I mean, getting out of the car and just seeing him just is calm and cool and collected, I thought, man, I might be in some trouble here. But
Coach, one of our viewers and Joe LaPointe joining us, and we appreciate it. Coach, DeKalb guy, Joe's son played at DeKalb. He was a lineman. He probably trucked a few of your D linemen over the years. Respect for program, going back to Darlington. Any thoughts on your games against DeKalb and the quality of play? Well, Joe, I mean, Alan will tell you, him and I have talked about the big Northern Illinois Big 12. Again, horrible name, but Alan, we've talked about it many times. What a great football conference that was.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, honestly, going back to when we were in the SBC, I loved that conference, Manuka, and just the close rivalry. But probably my next favorite was the Big 12. And then just I mean, across the board, I really did think it was one of the best football conferences, especially for our size schools in the state. I mean, obviously, I'd like to think we were competitive year in and year out. Then Kaneland had a run there for a while where they were they were unreal. And I mean, our year in 2012 when we went to state, that was our only loss, and we lost on a last-second touchdown with about 20 seconds left. I mean, it was just a back-and-forth battle. Sycamore's, Coach Ryan, tons of respect for each other. He's a great coach. And then, going back to DeKalb, I mean, once they really got things going, we said for years they were kind of like a sleeping giant. And once Matt got in there and really turned some things around, I mean, they went from, being a team that you could typically, we would beat to, I mean, man, they just started rolling. And then once you get the talent in there, guys like Dre Brown and the Tucker kid, and I mean, they had some just really good athletes, and we had some good wins against them, and we had some really tough losses too, because just their athleticism was at a different level sometimes.
Yeah, they really did. Matt did a great job there. It was, as you mentioned, I mean, there were always seemed to be athletes in that building, and next thing you know, that as you mentioned, they just started winning, and they haven't really stopped. I mean, they've kept that momentum going, and to this day, they're a really, really solid team, and they're doing some great things. Dewey, I'm sorry, I jumped in front of you there. You got something else for Coach?
All right, Coach. So let's look at your history and venues, and I want to talk about playoffs. So hypothetically, even if a team was just average, wasn't their best, give me a couple places that no matter when you're playing them, if you had to go to their place, there's this factor of fear.
Factor of fear?
Because of the venue or the atmosphere, this or that, those kind of things.
Yeah, I mean, there's just those fun places that you go to. I mean, we've had some battles down in Washington, and you always went down there and knew you were going to be in for a battle. Daryl and I, again, another guy, tons of respect for. I got to really know him, obviously just playing each other, but we both got to coach the Shrine game together. And really, what a fun experience that was, and get to know some of the guys you actually coach against, and found out, they're just a lot like us, obviously, two really good programs. But going down there was always a tough environment. I mean, Kaneland, just looking at our conference, Kaneland has just always been a tough game for us. Seems like, it's just good environment that, they've got a great crowd. We usually bring a good crowd. I would definitely say Sycamore is the same thing. I mean, when you talk about just regular season games, I mean, Sycamore is a very tough place to play at. Playoff wise, and we've had some good trips. I'm trying to really think about some of probably the toughest places we've been at. It's fortunately we've had some good games, but man, that is a good question. I was, traditionally our program, obviously going to JCA has always been a tough one. I've never been there on the road. We had them at home. But yeah, I mean, those are always, like I said, I mean, conference-wise, Sycamore, Kaneland for sure, and then Washington. Like I said, it just seemed like we played those guys in the regular season. We ran into them in the quarterfinals down there, and just another town very similar to Morris, a little bigger than us, but just football-oriented, really, really big into football.
And again, that's a lot for the Mid-Illini. I mean, that's a big time atmosphere on Friday nights, either Washington or Metamora or Dunlap. I don't care how good you are, where you're from. And Alan, let's face it, you go down there, you're one of those teams from up there. So you're you're the hated Northerners when you go in there, and they're going to try to stick it to you. And as you mentioned, Dale Crouch, just Hall of Fame guy, Hall of Fame coach, and I got another guy I've gotten to know over the years, and just tremendous respect for how he does things. And Dewey, you've known Pat Ryan for a while, and it's how it should be. And it's interesting you mentioned Morris, and I see it a lot. There's a lot of comparisons. I mean, to me, for a long time, Metamora was just a darker shade of red of Morris. And it took Washington. It took Darryl maybe a little bit while to get going when Pat Ryan really ran that conference for a while. But then once Darryl got things going, they kind of haven't looked back. And again, that's just it's what you want in high school football, just like you had at Morris and the conferences you've been in. And you mentioned the Southwest Prairie and all the different things. And that's what makes it fun. I mean, 8A and 7A is great. Don't get me wrong. There's some great places and venues, but yeah, man, I tell you what, on a Friday night, I'll take a Metamora, a Geneseo, a Morris, a Sacred Heart. I mean, that old school 5A mentality, I'm telling you, nothing.
Yeah. And honestly, Metamora, we've gone down there a couple times. I mean, some really, really good games with them, beat them on a last second field goal at their place. And, you start thinking about those, you name all those towns and then you start thinking, that was a great environment. Great. Another one where, place is packed, everybody's screaming and tough environment. Geneseo was always another really good game. And that's probably one of the best things I can compliment, the conference we're in and the teams that we usually play. I mean, you go to a Rochelle, you go to a Geneseo, which used to be in our conference. They're towns that love football and they really thrive on this. And that's kind of the hard part about us not having this. You just see everybody wish, it's hurting communities, it's hurting kids. It's from even a coaching standpoint. I mean, it's taking a toll on us. We're missing it. I know I'm probably driving my family nuts right now and not having football and trying to be as sane and, helpful around the house as I can. But, after a while you start getting that itch and want to coach football again. So, it's tough.
So we mentioned no football in the fall, and believe me, we've all had to adjust to that. And I've asked, I think, every coach that we've had on this question, have you brought up a new hobby? Did you have a massive honey-do list? I mean, you had to do something to kill time, coach. So what have you been able to do?
Yeah. At first, I will say this: when the whole thing started, as terrible as it is, and I'm not trying to make light of it, obviously, but I will say for that spring, it was kind of nice just to slow down a little bit, get to be around the family. I have 2 daughters and my wife, and just to be at home and not have the chaotic schedule was definitely nice. We did, the typical clean the whole house, did some outdoor projects, put on a screened-in porch of our house. I'm trying to exercise on a more regular basis, that kind of stuff. But, I keep finding myself coming back to football, whether I'm watching game film in my basement late at night just because I'm bored, or, old highlight films, or, we've already been, if the season started today, we've got game plans ready for going into Rochelle. We had them ready for Coal City until we found out that was done. I mean, it's just the coaching, you love the game. And like I said, I've tried to stay as busy as I can, but you keep going back to football. Probably the biggest new thing I've done is both my daughters are very involved in softball. They're
I'm
seeing a whole new world. I thought football was crazy. Softball is a different world. And I've got to help out with my youngest daughter's team. So being around, junior, senior high school boys and then going to 4th grade girls is it's been interesting. It tests my patience, but it's been a lot of fun. But I'm definitely ready to get back to the sidelines for football.
Both of you, save your money. I'm going to tell you, right, Dewey? Firsthand.
Absolutely.
Tell Coach what you've been doing with your son these days.
Oh, we got indoor football that started again, and now he's doing lessons with Coach Joe and another coach every Saturday, training for an hour.
Mm-hmm.
So there you go. That's welcome to that entire youth sport nonstop hamster wheel.
And I don't know if it's a good thing or a bad thing. My younger daughter, and she's pretty, both of them, knock on wood, I'm a pretty proud parent. They both are doing really well. But my younger daughter is a pitcher too, so I get to do the pitching lessons, and that's just a whole nother fun thing too. So
yeah, your knees and your back will be shot in about a year or two.
Yeah, I found out. I think I had a pretty good career as a bullpen catcher. I think I've done a lot of catching so far for her, and she's at least to the speed where I don't feel like it's going to endanger me yet, but I know it's coming soon.
Oh, it's coming. My daughter got to about sophomore year. I was done catching her. And I mean, I'm not even talking, she wasn't even a pitcher, but she threw so hard. I mean, it was going like this.
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, that's it. I'm done.
Yeah.
Someone else, you got to catch you. So, but no, it's fun. I joke, but I mean, we had a ton of great times and experience, but man, save your money.
Yeah.
Both, yeah. Before we cut you loose, and again, loved having you on. Great to talk to you again. Alan, what's going to happen? What's your thoughts? Where are we going?
I wish I had the answers to that, and hearing every other coach on kind of the same. I think we're all in the same boat. I think we're really fighting time right now. I think that's the biggest thing. Personally, I'm frustrated with the situation. I know we all are, and it's easy to sit and complain about it. I think we kind of, I know we dropped the ball in the fall. I think we should have played in the fall, but, I still think personally, I agree with the other coaches that were on. I know it's going to create a lot of logistical problems. I mean, from just an equipment issue of how to recondition to especially the injuries with kids and things like that. But I just keep going back to, if we can find a way to play, I think we need to. I just think we owe it to these kids. Even if it's an abbreviated schedule somehow, and I don't know, again, I don't know the right answers to this, but I know what the original plan, and I don't know who came up with it, but the 7-game and the regional, it was not I don't think it was a football coach that came up with it. But
I put an APB out for whoever came up with that. And you know me, I talk to everybody. Mm-hmm. No one is stepping up and admitting that they put that plan together.
Yeah, and even if you could, even if we shorten that, if it came out to 7 games and forget the playoff, or forget the, even if it got down to 5, just to do some sort of games. I mean, if we're talking 2, 3, something like that, I don't know if that's worth it at that point, but I just think, I know it's going to create problems, but nothing's been normal this year. So I would much rather have that chaos and still give these kids an opportunity to play if we can do it. And if not, we need to make a decision. That's the biggest thing that's hurting me. Right. That we need the IHSA, the governor's office, whoever the powers that be, if we're going to get canceled, as unfortunate as that would be, and I hope that doesn't happen, we need to know, because these athletes need to know, and the spring sports need to know. If they have a chance, if we lose ours, but they can still get a full season, I think that needs to happen too. I mean, again, I don't know the right answers, but I just hope somewhere in there there's some football games left for us to play, and we put a lot of money into a brand new stadium and field. I would love to get to actually use it.
I know. I was thinking, I literally was driving over near the high school the other day, and I thought, oh yeah, I totally forgot about it. I was like, oh yeah, they got a completely brand new stadium that is sitting.
It's different. I mean, it's amazing. And I never thought I would see it in Morris. A lot of credit, obviously, to our admin, our school board for making it happen. Our superintendent did a great job. And it's beautiful. I mean, turf field, the scoreboard is state of the art. I mean, some of the stuff they were just messing around on it, replays and stuff like that. I mean, I never thought I would see that stuff. And new bleachers on the visiting side, which definitely needed it. And probably the weirdest thing is just knowing that we're going to be on the opposite side. It's kind of a weird look, but we're excited to use it. It was fun being on it in the spring. It's just, we're hoping we can get an actual real game this year.
No, I'm telling you, it's crazy. We hope you do as well. And just appreciate you taking time. And I hope the next time we get to do this, we'll actually be able to talk football and what you got coming back and all that good stuff. So we'll let you go, my friend. But again, sorry for the runaround here technically, but
You're
glad
fine.
you're able to hook up with it. And, just good luck, stay healthy, and hope to talk to you again real soon.
Yeah, you guys too. Again, thank you for having me on, and appreciate getting to talk to both of you guys, and Edgy, especially everything you're doing to try to keep this fight going for sports. I mean, we all really appreciate it. It's tough, but you've really been a voice, especially with the Let Us Play movement, and now the hear our voice and stuff like that. And I think that's awesome. So thank you for everything you're doing.
Got to fight for what you want, Coach. That's all I know.
Absolutely.
Thanks, Coach.
Yep. Thank you.
All right, Alan Thorson, Dewey dropping out, and again, just echoing a lot of the other coaches have been talking about, and yet here we are, and still nothing.
No, and we'll just continue, I guess, to have nothing.
Well, again, by the way, as we forgot to mention, Coach Joe is on assignment, and obviously he left this lapse that we all have to run.
Yeah.
So Dewey will. If you want to start yours now, we can
get after it.
So most people are watching this are aware, we're kind of on pins and needles the last week or so. There seems to be some movement. The low contact sports have kind of been given the go ahead to start working, and all positives, but we're still not hearing anything on basketball. We're not hearing anything on football. Doing what Coach said, I think, is what's going to happen at this January 27th meeting. Look, figure it out. Just tell us. It's okay. If it's not going to happen, at least let us know now, so coaches like Alan and everyone else can at least start planning for what's the next move.
I would think at this point, I mean, we've thought it for how many months now, but we're pretty much at the point where you got to make some final decisions.
Right. Because you're just running out of time. And then what no one has talked about, and again, these are things that just bug me and kind of scare me, is, okay, well, we had a plan back in August. Well, as of right now, middle of January, we don't have a plan for anything because we're still waiting. We have all these different hands in the mix. Now, the scary thing is, and I listen to WJOL during the day. I know you do as well. Had a report on there about Will County Health, and I mean, they're not even close to really getting going on vaccinations, and I think we're going to discover. It's not an outlier. I think we're going to discover this all over the damn state, is that these boards of health, and probably extremely, and believe me, I'm not laying blame at anyone, but I can guarantee you they're probably extremely underfunded. And you can put all the plans in place you want to get this done, but having plans and then being able to execute are two totally different things. So everyone's like, okay, well, we're back and let's go. And we got the vaccination. I've been saying for a while now, there's so many different hands involved in this thing. It's not going to come back like that. It's just not going to happen right away. The time is working against us still.
Keep kicking the can down the road.
Right. And that is what this state has done so well for so long. And it's starting to catch up. And this is a prime example of, and it's going to be across the country. It's not just going to be here, but this is where we live. So that's who we're going to pick on. There's going to be a lot of people are going to have to look at a lot of things once we're past this. And, we have enough problems here with pension debt and taxes and everything else. You're going to have to look at these health systems and how we're doing this and who's organizing it, because so far I'm not really impressed. And I don't think anyone else is. And it's just going to drag things out. And Dewey, I mean, you're in a service-related industry. Your wife is in a service-related industry. I'm obviously in more of a retail service industry. I mean, and you've got friends of yours and your wives that own small businesses. They own restaurants. I mean, how much longer are people expected to be able to just hang on by a shoestring and survive? I don't know.
No, it's tough, and as everybody knows, this time a lot of them just said we can't. We're
Yeah.
going to stay open. And
Yeah.
we could talk about that for an hour.
No, I know. No, we're not going political, but that is, to me, this is just one of the many issues that we have no control over from a sports standpoint. We have no control over it. It's
Right.
not up to us. If it was up to us, I joked with someone. I said, you want to get the vaccinations done? Get a hold of Portillo's, get a hold of Chick-fil-A, and have them organize it through their drive-throughs, and we'll probably get it banged out in about 3 weeks.
Yeah.
But I don't see that happening, and I don't see it happening on a wide basis anywhere, and that's what scares me. So,
Yep.
and I think football is going to be impacted. So, let's figure it out. Let's say, okay, look, here's what we're going to do. Contact days are fine, but again, ask the coaches and to what's the end? Where's the end for this?
Right.
Stop putting them on the hamster wheel.
Yep.
Let your seniors know where they stand. Let them know that they're going to have or not have another game, and move forward and get ready for what we hope is the fall.
That's all you can do.
And now we keep hearing about. There was a story out here today talking about Slammer Stadium and basically being told they're not going to host. They're prepared not to host the state title baseball. So, okay. So now that's June.
Yep.
And that's when we're supposed to start contact days for football.
Right.
So if they're already planning out, we're not going to have, quote unquote, a baseball state champion. And look, this isn't any breaking news. This is what I got from the radio today out here in the Joliet area. So, it doesn't fill me with confidence, Dewey.
No, and I think it's way too premature.
I know.
I mean, we're looking at what can happen in June when we're not even sure what's going to happen in February and March.
Nope. I hope so, man. I hope we rev things up and really start kicking butt and getting after it, because we're all ready. We all need it, but I don't see it going on. From a basketball standpoint, good friend of mine, good friend to the Joliet area, terrific writer, terrific editor for the Chicago Sun-Times, Michael O'Brien. Dewey?
Yeah, so Mike's going to go in the IBCA Hall of Fame. Much deserved by him, over 20 years of coverage with basketball specifically, and see Mike anywhere and everywhere all over the Chicagoland area.
Yeah, known Mike for a while. I've done some work with Mike for a while. Great guy, Joliet guy. Just really gets after it, and he's really blossomed between social media and the work that he's done at the Sun-Times, because let's face it, from a prep standpoint, they basically are the only game in town. Yeah, I know the Tribune still has their locals that do prep sports, and but from a big Chicago paper standpoint, it's OB and the Sun-Times, and him, and along with Mike Clark and a handful of others have kept that going. And yeah, well deserved. There's no doubt. And again, just a truly good guy. So very, very happy for him. What do you want to get into? You take it. Where are we talking next?
All right, we're going to go to the Mount Rushmore of free agents all time in Chicago sports.
Wow. Okay.
You can have 4.
Well, I know where you're going with this to begin, and I'll just tell you right now, I would generally agree. I think John Lester, probably the best free agent signing out of the 4. So he's got to be on it.
He's on it.
Okay.
But he might not be the best. There's another name I have as one of my 4. Now, this is not acquired via trade. This is free agent.
Free agent, right? Run out and signed him.
I'll eliminate a few for you. I'll eliminate the Bulls, and I'll eliminate the Bears.
Yeah, there haven't exactly been a ton of Bear free agent signings.
Nope.
Have really worked out. So we're talking what, Hawks?
Yep.
You give me yours. Because the Sox one's stumping me a little bit. There's a couple ways I could go with the White Sox angle of it,
Okay.
but what are yours? And if you're out there watching it and you want to contribute to this, more than welcome. You can send us something on Facebook. We've got a chat feature. If you're watching off of YouTube, you can leave comments and we get that as well. So feel free to contribute. All right, Dewey, your Mount Rushmore of Chicago free agents. We already talked, figured John Lester's in, and I think deservedly so. Who would the other three be for you?
Marion Hossa, without a doubt.
No argument there. Nope.
I got Andre Dawson.
The Hawk. Okay.
And I got Carlton Fisk.
Well, Fisk was going to be one of mine for sure. Because, I mean, that was just something we just never did. I mean, we went out and got a legitimate free agent. And it's funny. I was talking about this with a buddy of mine, a Sox fan of mine. We only had him for 1 year. But for 1 year, people don't realize Albert Bell was really good for the White Sox. Did you realize that?
Yep.
Albert Bell had like 47 homers that year, 120 RBIs. He had a great year. Now, again, it was a 1 year deal, and that was it. But no, he wouldn't be in it. Wow, free agents. It's good. Were there any others that you considered?
There's none I considered. You got to remember, if you think about Rodman, but Rodman was a trade.
Yeah. Yeah.
And the Bears
trade. No. No. Wow. Pretty good. All right. Next time you got to give me more than 3 minutes.
All right.
So I can do some research next week. Because I could have pulled a couple out, I'm sure.
Okay.
It's a good question, though. NFL, coming off the NFL weekend last weekend. I had a chance I think I caught just about every game. I thought it concluded great. I thought, New Orleans and Tampa was pretty much a classic game. Damn it, Tom Brady's good.
I'm going to throw you a number.
Oh, I knew. I knew you had something up your sleeve. Okay, let's hear it.
All right.
But admit it. How good is Brady? I mean, Brady might be.
He's very good.
Man.
He didn't have his best game, but he didn't need to.
Right.
But he's good.
But he's 41 years old, too.
I know. He has 32 playoff wins and 6 Super Bowl titles, okay?
That's more than like 5 teams, I think, at least.
Without a doubt, Hall of Famer.
Yep.
You combined Brett Favre and Aaron Rodgers, they have 32 playoff wins and only 4 titles.
And they're both.
So you got 2 Hall of Famers with what 1 Hall of Famer's done. That's how good he is.
Well, he's got more Super Bowl wins than probably half the league.
Yeah.
Franchises. Unbelievable. And again, I just, you hate him, but he's so good. I mean, it's kind of like Rodgers as Bear fans. I mean,
right.
You hate him, but you respect him. He's so good. That's it. Lot of state of Illinois connections in a championship playoff games. You got Tampa Bay at the Packers. Tampa Bay, Cam Brate played at Naperville Central. He was actually quarterback at Naperville Central. Went off to college, ended up playing tight end. He's a tight end for, obviously, Tampa Bay. So he's a connection. There's Illinois connections all over Green Bay, Dewey. Local guy, Tyler Lancaster, Plainfield East, went to Northwestern. I think he got hurt last week. I'm not 100% sure how serious it was, but he's obviously was starting on the Packers defensive line along with Dean Lowry from Boylan. Also had a great career at Northwestern. He's starting for the Packers. Robert Tanyan from McHenry's. I think he's got to be a All-Pro this year because, I mean, he's all of a sudden had a huge breakout year. So again, he's on the Packers, the Chiefs. Nicky Algretti certainly. And how about Nicky Algretti over the last year? Got on the roster. Basically, now he's starting and playing great. What a great story Nicky is.
He's a captain.
Yeah.
Yeah. He's he's coming on. He's done very well for himself.
Yeah. So again, certainly from our area here that we kind of cater to in the Will County area, lots of connections going into the championship rounds. Who goes to the Super Bowl, do?
I'm not going to change now. I've said it from the start. Green Bay, and I'm sticking with Kansas City, but I'm concerned. I'm not so concerned with this concussion thing with Mahomes.
Oh, I am.
Okay, well,
He's still going to play,
he's
but
still going to play. I'm not. I'm as concerned about that toe
yeah,
as I am about the concussion.
yeah, it's true.
So that's the only. If he's 100%, I just don't see Buffalo beating them. But if he's a tick under, I think it's anybody's game.
Yeah, I said very early on, I after the first Bear Packer game, I thought this was going to be the Packers' year. So I mean, I'll stick with them to win it all. But yeah, if Mahomes is anywhere near remotely healthy, they're going to be tough to beat again. I don't think there's any doubt. Just there's so much speed on that Chiefs offense. Scary the explosiveness he's got in that offense. So baseball wise, White Sox, Cubs. You're certainly a huge Cub fan, as you can tell. I am a huge. Got the post game head on.
There you go.
So yeah, when you don't go to the playoffs very often, you learn to cherish these things. So it's been an interesting week or so for the Cubs, Dewey.
Well, okay. So my first thing is I'm not happy with the Lester thing at all.
No, I wouldn't either.
Yes, he's not what he was when we got him, but to have him as a fourth or fifth at $4 million, and he calls you after Washington offers because he wants to stay here and you don't bring him back.
Yeah.
To me, that's not a good look at all.
No.
And then before you comment on that, maybe did
well, Tyler
you
Chapman.
guys, well, did you guys entertain a Schwarber or a Lester? I wonder.
I don't know. I didn't hear any rumblings one way or the other. Personally, I probably would have considered both of them. I was not happy to see Michael Brantley sign with the Blue Jays. You knew that was a guy I wanted for a while.
No, he went back to Houston, didn't he?
What's that?
He went back to Houston.
No, he signed with the Blue Jays. The Blue Jays signed
Springer
and Brantley today.
Oh, okay.
So yeah, but I will say, Brantley signed a 2-year, $32 million contract. So $16 million a year for Michael Brantley. I mean, good for him. He got paid. It's a lot of money for a 33-year-old kind of okay defensively, more of a DH guy. So I the Sox have the money. They should have spent it, but that is a pretty hefty price tag for Michael Brantley, but wanted to see him. Schwarber, I definitely would have considered. You know what I feel about him. I thought from day one he should have been an American League DH. And, and give him credit. He's made himself into a serviceable outfielder. I'm hoping that can carry over on the south side of town one of these days, that we can have one of our guys become a serviceable outfielder. I don't know if it'll happen, but yeah, I certainly would have considered both of them. And as we go into this, we still have the need for a left-handed hitting power guy that can DH. And I think for security, another veteran guy that can be used and eat up innings if either Cease or Lopez or Kopech. Well, I think Kopech's starting in the minors regardless. You're just not going to throw him to the Wolves right away. Cease is the guy I think they're hoping can turn things around. And Lopez, I don't know what to expect anymore. So we'll see. Tyler Chatwood signed. I saw he left. He's somewhere else.
Quintana back with Uncle Joe.
Yeah.
In Anaheim.
Yeah. So I mean, someone's gonna have to pitch for you.
Well, here's my thoughts. So I don't like the Lester thing. I'm never gonna like that.
Right. I agree, by the way. There's no doubt. I think it would have been well worth the money to at least match it and have him give him the opportunity to come back. So
now I'm hearing maybe Arrieta's in the mix to come back.
Yeah, but
somebody's got to pitch, as you said.
Yeah.
That's
more of a White Sox move, honestly.
Right. Well, we're
Bring the guy
now.
back 3 years after we should have had him.
Yep.
So
We're in the sell mode. So I'll say this much. Ricketts talks about biblical losses. I will give him that with what he owns outside of that park and around that park, it's a more unique situation than anywhere in baseball.
yeah,
Okay? He
great.
is invested and he did have a ton of losses. If this is a 1 year truly thing that they're trying to trade all these pieces, get the minors built up, and then they're fully in the next year, I'm okay with it. But if this starts a tailspin that we've seen over and over again, I am not going to be too thrilled, and not many others are going to be either.
Can't afford that anymore, can you?
No, I mean, I think Contreras is next.
Yeah. Well, and then
But you can get a haul.
what about Bryant?
I move on. He's the one I would definitely move on because if you look at the numbers since 16, and we all know what Boris is going to want, I wouldn't do that. I'd get what you can now or by the All-Star break.
See, I think the question is, what can you get for him now? I don't think a lot.
Right.
Nowhere near is what your fan base is going to want.
But you're going to get nothing after this year.
Yeah. Well, it's the same. It's the same with Lindor in Cleveland.
Yep.
You know, my Cleveland fans will tell you they're upset because at this point you might as well have just kept Lindor for one more year and try to win.
Right.
And they, with their pitching, they could have.
Right. They
still could. I mean, their pitching's fantastic, but offensively, with him gone, it's a whole different deal. So,
right.
Yeah, and I would, from a White Sox perspective, I mean, I feel good about the move. I still am not a big fan of Adam Eaton. So I guess we're going to be stuck with a platoon of the Adams, Adam Eaton, Adam Engel, and if I'm Adam Engel, I mean, I'm really pissed because all that does is tell me is that they have no confidence in me whatsoever. Because what is defensively, Eaton's better than Engel, or Engel's better than Eaton in my eyes. He's younger. I think he's a better outfielder. Hitting, okay, yeah, I get it. But I mean,
yeah, but Engel. Let's look at it this way though. Once the seventh inning hits in almost every game, Engel's going to be probably in left field.
Yeah. There's no doubt. But see, the one thing I don't like is if the White Sox do go out and get a DH/outfielder, is he going to be the odd man out? You almost have to think he would be, because then Eaton becomes your platoony, which again, it's not cheap for a platoon guy what they paid for him, but I don't know. We have had such a black hole at DH, and it has to get answered. I do not want to go into the year and look at, Adam Eaton as a DH in the ace spot in the lineup. I just don't want to see it. I don't. Right. So, and that would tell me, okay, you know what? Maybe the All-Star break, you can correct that. Maybe.
Right.
And don't get me wrong. I mean, I'm thrilled. I think we're going to win games regardless, but what are you in it for? And that's another thing that scares me real quick. And we only got a minute left. Now they know they're good enough to win the division. That's what scares me.
No doubt.
So now I think Jerry can be a little complacent.
I think you're in a good spot because you can evaluate everything up until the All-Star break now. I think your moves to start the year, you're ready.
Yep. So we'll see. I just want to go to a game, and I know you do.
Yep.
Me too. So, all right. Well, that's going to do it. An hour goes by like that. Hopefully, maybe Coach Joe back next week. We hope. We'll have guests next week. We'll come up with something good. So, all right, my man. Oh, wait. You know what? Now it's an official show.
There we go, Mr. DeGraw.
Jeff DeGraw has joined us. So, all right, buddy. Well, appreciate it. Appreciate everyone watching and taking in the show. We'll be back next week. Same time, same place. For Dave Dwyer, I'm Edgy10. Thanks, everybody. Have a good rest of the week. Stay safe, and hopefully we'll all get a chance to get out to a game soon. Good night, everybody.